Patrick McHarg from Promo Placement. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, so let's jump into the first question here. What is the job search market like right now in the promo industry?
Well, I don't want to sugarcoat it, Chris. It's bad. It's very, very bad, and it's the worst I've seen it. My partner and I have a combined 40 years in the industry, and it's the worst either of us have seen it. Many large, well-funded suppliers are letting go of significant portions of their workforce. Many distributors have seen end user spend basically freeze in place. They're, in many cases, shifting to PPE to kind of keep the lights on. However, we have seen in pockets of prosperity within the industry. I know of several distributors and suppliers who are actually experiencing an increase in sales at the moment. Wow. Others are seeing that sales indicators on their end look to indicate that this thaw might be coming here in the next, 4 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
So it's
so maybe
not
by
good.
July, maybe by July, Patrick. Is that what you're hearing? A little bit of
that's what I'm hearing.
up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully July, end of summer. Hopefully things will have turned the corner.
All right. So it is. Hey, it's not a great marketplace right now, to say the least. There are people though who are out there and who are looking for a job. They're promotional products professionals who did nothing wrong and just unfortunately got caught up in all this. So for those who want to stay in the industry, they're keen to stay in this industry. They love it. What's the first thing that those job hunters should be doing?
Well, the first thing I think that those job hunters need to do is maybe something a little mental first is realize that it's not your fault. A lot of people are in this boat right now. A lot of people who've never had a resume, who've never applied for a job formally rather. A lot of people find themselves out of work. So the first thing I think they need to do is realize that. Secondly, I think that they need to move to take advantage of their personal and professional networks. So it's those LinkedIn connections. It's those people who you email them on a quarterly basis and check in, say, how are things? Hope the kids are great. Hope the family's good. Leverage those. And leverage sounds like a crude way to put it, but those are the people where personal connections exist. Those people are going to put you at the top of their list. And a lot of jobs in this industry are still found through those raw personal connections. So that's the first step, is reach out to everyone that you possibly can and let them know where you are.
I really like that, what you said there about, you're almost telling us, have a little bit of empathy for yourself, just as you probably would for somebody else who was caught up in the same predicament. You're saying, hey, listen, it's, before you could eat, you got to kind of get a little mentally strong first and realize this isn't something that you did. This is something that happened to you that is beyond your control. It's okay. You're not a failure. You're not anything like that.
Certainly
not at all. This is something that nobody could have predicted, that we're all dealing with on some level, and that's okay. So kind of give yourself that pass, and then from there you can start branching out with some of these networking initiatives you talked about.
Yeah, very, very well said, Chris. Very well said.
All right. So those are kind of the two really top things you need to do right away. What are some other things? What's kind of like a next step you might see as part of that job search?
I think the next major step would be to reach out to as many different companies directly as you can.
Okay.
A lot of promotional product professionals know they could probably name 25, 50 companies in their backyard, whether it be distributors or suppliers, but mostly got to be made up of distributors just because of the numbers of the breakdown. But reach out to them, let them know that you're in the job market, let them know, hey, there's 25 years of experience sitting across town that is looking for the next great opportunity. Don't assume that nobody's hiring. Assume that people are hiring, but reach out to them. Have as many conversations as you can. I think that's the next best step, is to formally get on the radar of these different companies.
All right. Now, there's probably some internal, beyond the having, some empathy for yourself, as you mentioned. There's some internal things you can kind of do right too, to prepare to make yourself best prepared, for lack of a better term, for when you do that reaching out, right? Is there resume brushing up you should do? What are some of those internal things you might want to do?
You're right on, Chris. Your resume needs to be on point. It needs to be perfect. Now is not the time to let any detail go overlooked.
Okay.
And one thing that I tell candidates that we work with a lot is make sure that your resume and your LinkedIn profile are congruent.
Okay.
So if there's something that's missing on your LinkedIn profile or missing on your resume, all it's going to do is bring up questions. Have as many endorsements as endorsements and recommendations on your LinkedIn page as you can. Have as many referrals and nice little blurbs about your work history as you can. But make sure, like you said, that the resume is on point, the presentation's on point, that everything that comes from you is professional and impressive.
All right. This just occurred to me while you were speaking, because we're talking so much about kind of like your a professional's digital profile, so to speak,
Sure.
how they look online. I guess it depends a bit on what position you might be going for, what type of position. But do you recommend that they have like a small personal website as well? Do you think that that's beneficial, or is that an unnecessary step depending on the position, or you think it's something worthwhile?
I think it's always a nice touch. There's a lot of candidates who do have a personal web space. I find it a lot more common, Chris, with graphic artists, designers, those sorts of folks. But it is always impressive. So I think that's a good investment. If you're in between, you have an afternoon, you have a whole day to build something out, but it can't look like you went off half-cocked and created something that looks sloppy. It's got to be impressive. And one thing that our industry is heavily built on sales reps. Sales reps can highlight their different projects that they've worked on. They can highlight the Disney campaign that they worked on 6 months ago. Different things that will really stand out.
That's a great idea, because you make a great point. We're such a visual industry. We produce real tangible products that we can show people and have them hold. So if it's for a sales professional, for instance, if they are able to commit a little time to having that website done correctly, as you say, they can showcase these things. Say, hey, look at this cool project I did. Tell a little bit about it. Have 3 or 4 pictures of the cool products they made, and that makes them look like they really have their stuff together. Maybe helps them stand out in this job search process.
It does, and another thing to include is the visual is key. The visual is what's going to make an impression upon us. It include the measurables. So a beautiful looking project, something that really pops, but also talk about how it improved ROI 22%, how it helped the new company unroll their healthcare initiative. Talk about the deliveries. I always tell candidates, wherever you can in your resume, wherever you can on your LinkedIn profile, quantify everything. Because it's easy to say I'm an expert in promotional products. Everyone can say that. It's not easy to say I delivered X, I delivered Y, I delivered Z, and show that.
Bottom line results say, hey, this is what I've produced, and I could produce these kinds of results for you. Here's the numbers to prove it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Great. That's great advice. Are there other kind of top tips? We could leave it open ended. Just things that come to mind that you should definitely be doing if you're looking for a position right now in the promo industry.
Other top tips, I would say hit up all the job boards that you know. PPAI has a wonderful one. ASI has a wonderful one. We have one at Promo Placement. There's a website, Promo Gigs, that we're kind of involved with. But they have a job board as well as a resume board to get as much visibility as you can. Industry professionals check those websites regularly and make sure that you got to look at it digitally. Now, where our first point was touch as many personal connections as you can. Then you got to, once you've expended all of that opportunity, then you need to go digital and make sure your resume's out there, that you're going on job boards. So I would say those 2 key pieces are the next big topics.
All right. Here's a nice softball question for you, given what you do. How can recruiters help in that process?
Well, that's a great question. How we can help in that process, and given that the times are so different, we've kind of shifted our focus a little bit. one thing that recruiters are doing that I find to be helpful
Mhm.
is they're offering different services.
Okay.
So while hiring isn't necessarily happening,
Mhm.
a lot of people have been let go, and it's one of those things that, like we were talking about empathy earlier,
Mhm.
it's hard to see and not empathize. So what different companies are doing is they're offering services for free, whether it be resume revisions, career counseling, and we're doing this as well,
Mhm.
outplacement services. There's a number of free, at no charge to anyone, services
Mhm.
that recruiters are providing. And also, recruiters generally do a lot of work with making connections. So
Mhm.
that's still going on. The fruit of those connections is going to be a little bit slower to grow, but
Mhm.
um, I think that recruiters still play a big role in what's ahead in a very positive way.
All right, very, very good. Another question that just kind of occurred to me as we were chatting here. You mentioned that you've spoken with industry companies that are, maybe cautiously optimistic that by summer, sometime in the summer, maybe later third, fourth quarter, we're going to see not a rebound, but some strengthening in the market. Um, is Should you be timing your job search to then maybe laying low a while, or is it advantageous to get out now in front of things? What is there a right approach, or does it depend?
That's a great question, Chris. I don't know if where the timing falls into it. To be honest,
Okay, fair
I
enough.
think I think if it really depends on everyone's situation.
Hmm.
There's some candidates we talk to who say, you know what, I'm in a good position financially or severance wise
Hmm.
or whatever, and they're going to wait the summer. They just say, hey, I'm going to spend time with family. I'm going to
Hmm.
let some more of this die down. There's just so much uncertainty that they say, I'm just going to remove myself from the whole process for a little bit,
Fair enough.
and that's totally understandable. If that's not, if that is an option, I would say it's something to consider.
Hmm.
If it's not an option where you don't have that flexibility, I don't think there's any harm in jumping in right
Right
away.
away.
And
Hmm.
I don't think getting your name to the top of the list of potential companies,
Hmm.
potential hirers, getting that out there early, I don't think that's going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, great point. Great point. So in addition to kind of networking and getting the resume and your digital profile polished up and doing all these steps that you've discussed today, is there things that folks who are out of work right now can be doing to kind of just improve themselves professionally, to make themselves a more hireable, desirable professional for a company?
Absolutely. And now is a really good time with a lot of people working from home.
Hmm.
Now is a really good time to take advantage of what's become, grown into a full-fledged industry the last 5 years, which is on the various online learning platforms.
Okay.
So there you have the big ones with Coursera,
Hmm.
Skillshare, even kind of niche ones like Code Academy.
Hmm.
If you can add an arrow to your quiver, if you can add one or two major skills, there's just through online learning during this somewhat downtime,
Hmm.
you're going to be all the more attractive when hiring does pick up. Whether you're currently employed or you're unemployed,
Hmm.
either way, being able to say, oh, you know what, now I know how to read financial statements,
Hmm.
or now I understand how to run QuickBooks.
Okay.
Whereas that's not really my part of the business.
Hmm.
I just picked it up over the downtime. That's going to be attractive. That's going to be, I think, rewarded
Hmm.
by employers.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but certainly that would stand out to me is that if every little bit more skill you can add to that resume makes you that much more well-rounded, it would seem. And if you have the time, like you probably don't, like you probably haven't in the past, then now would be a good time to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Um, all right, Patrick, you've given us a lot of fantastic insights today. Is there just kind of a big takeaway or another major point or two that we didn't hit that you'd really want to emphasize for folks?
I think the big takeaway, Chris, that really sums up everything that is critical for job seekers and for even the employed right now is that first point is you have to forgive yourself. You
Hmm.
have to accept that We're going through what we're going through right now is extraordinary, and it's not extraordinary in a positive way for most people. So forgive yourself if you find yourself feeling down, feeling a little less productive than you normally do. Understand that you're in the same boat that a lot of us are. It's not unique. It's something that like the tagline has been saying for the last couple of months. We're all in it together. So hang in there and do the best you can. When it comes to actually doing the activity that can get you that next job, be as active as possible. You have to look at it like it's a full-time job. So break it down into pieces, put a plan together. I'm sorry, Chris.
No, you didn't cut. I was cutting you off. You go ahead and finish. I think that's absolutely fantastic advice. And, you gave us very concrete, actionable tips to work on. But I really like that idea of like, hey, let's start with internally a little bit and build out from that. So it's okay. This isn't your fault. As horrible as it is, it's not your fault. So good stuff.
It's easy to beat yourself up. Don't let it happen. You're a great professional. You add value. Know that you have to go into the workplace confident in exuding that value. So.
All right. Great place to end. Patrick McHargue, Promo Placement, thank you so much for chatting with me today. We hope those tips were helpful for everybody.
Thank you very much, Chris. I enjoyed it.